Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us for another episode of the Liverpool Connection Podcast. We're PubChat. We're in Jono's studio, away from BD Riley's. And before we get started, we want to wish you guys happy holidays. Hope you guys are being safe. Festivus Maximus, or whatever you say, Jono, in Scotland. But we got our festive gear on, and just a couple days before Saint Nick comes to visit.
Yes, keep it fun, keep it happy, and enjoy whatever holiday you prefer to enjoy.
Well, I enjoyed the Sputnik, and I have another one in the fridge. You only have one because you spilt the other one right before the show.
Yeah, all
The
over the
the
garage
the
here,
whole
Steve. So
can or
that was
glass.
disappointing. That was a
That,
poor start, but we're not going to let that affect us, Steve.
but like the Liverpool team currently, a poor start isn't going to affect your game, Jono. I could just tell
That's a
already.
beautiful segue, Steve. Yes, we have been starting a few games kind of slowly, maybe. A few bad decisions by my boy, Robo. But
I'm sure Liam Cotter watches the show. He's all ready to get on you.
yeah, but we have been recovering well, and Slot is a smart coach. It seems like.
I think he's a tactical genius, and we'll go into some of the tactics that we saw midweek, against Southampton. But we're looking forward to the game this weekend against Spurs. Spurs are just one of those teams that can blow you out of the park, or they can shit the bed.
Yeah,
Seven wins, seven losses, and two draws. That's their record right now. They're coming into the game 10th place, 13 points behind us. We still have a game in hand over them. So but Spurs is always a tricky fixture for us.
yeah. It tends to be kind of a wild game, but I think we've done fairly well. I mean, obviously, last season's game there was just it still winds me up. I must say, it's like that's the most infuriating game I've had watching Liverpool in years. I mean, the red cards, and then we did so well, and then the disallowed goal, and then the match upon goal at the end. I hope the players have a little bit of that in them, that we're going to correct that. Um, but just in general, I think Spurs, yeah, they're dangerous. They had a bit of a wild game. It sounds like today against Spurs, against United. Um, 4-3, but it was close at the end. And I think that just in general, the games that I mean, they beat City 4-0, but yeah, then they just give up goals to teams where they shouldn't. They were 2-0 up against Chelsea, really good team, but giving up 4 goals is kind of ridiculous once you're 2-0 up. So I I think we should go in there, expecting a win, but I don't think it'll be easy. I mean,
Yeah, they're a weird team, right? I mean, their goal differential, they're only one goal behind us on goal differential.
hmm,
But look at their record, right? They're 13, possibly 16 points behind us. Just shows you that they can score, but they just leak a lot of
yeah,
goals. And for all the people that say Ange is this coach extraordinaire, man, I don't buy it, dude. I really don't. I remember last year when, like you referenced that game that we just got shitted on by the refs. He's trying to talk like it's part of the game, but now they get a few calls against him. He's
right.
like complaining left and right. So I don't really rate him. Not So he's good for the Spurs because that's their Spurs, right? But you know, we just found out today we're also going to get them in the Carabao Cup, the semifinals, home and away. So we're going to be playing them, you know, 3 times here in a pretty quick time period. So, but Saturday, I think the game Saturday, the we had
Sunday.
or Sunday, excuse me. Had a couple of draws that we probably shouldn't have had,
Yeah.
and so Chelsea's breathing down our necks. We rested some players yesterday. For all the shit talk that people give Nunez and Chiesa and all these other guys, what they did, two things important. We advanced and we rested a lot of our key players. and those guys would be raring to go. I mean, had a whole week off, so that's really on top of the other week that they had off because of the Everton game that got canceled. They're they're not used to these kind of breaks in really this time of the year, and so I project that we're going to come in there and just really suffocate them at the very beginning, and get up and maybe score one or two goals here in like first 20 minutes. But so what do you think the lineup should be now that Elliott's back and Rabo and Simicus played yesterday? What do you think your starting lineup is on Sunday?
Well, I think it was brave of Slot to not take a bunch of the players that he did. Um, Soboslai, Virgil, Salah, all not even on the bench, right? And probably somebody else I'm not remembering, but
Diaz on the bench.
Diaz. Um, but none of them have got minutes and all good and rested. So you've got to imagine that those guys would start and be expected to play, 90. It'll be interesting. I think the few things that are kind of like question marks in the lineup. So obviously Elliott does really well, but he's coming back in and then he plays 90. So I would imagine if he does get minutes, it'll be a few. And Soboslai obviously not traveling, I think he'll start. So as well as Elliott has done, and it's great to see for this particular game, I think it'll be Soboslai starting and Elliott will be in the bench. Um, would it be interesting a bit more in the front line? What does he do? Um, Diaz in the middle because Nunes plays the 90 and does pretty well. It's good to see him get a goal and you know just generally I think he was just decent. I mean Diaz, Jota looks good when he comes on and really looks a level above in my opinion. So I'm really not sure. Like, is Jota ready to start, or does he keep him? He's looked great off the bench the last two games. Um, Obviously, Salah's going to start. So I think there's question marks in the front line, and then McAllister comes back in, gets his minutes, and he does love to start Maka in the midfield when he's available. But Jones is rested now. Obviously, I think Grav will start and Soboslai will start, but I'm not really sure about whether it'll be Jones or Maka. What do you think?
Well, I think we're going pretty thin lineup, and now we're going into this game because fortuitous that we had the midweek game, so Rabo served as suspension for that game, so he's eligible to play against Spurs. So I think he'll come back into left back. So I think the back five: Allison, Trent, Gomez,
In
Van
the
Dyke,
in
and
the
Rabo.
back, do you think it's Simicast or Robo? What do you think
I, I
based
think
on
I,
recent
I think Rabo will play just.
events?
I think Rabo will play just because he had the week off, and Simkus is still he just had what 10, 15 minutes on Wednesday.
Yeah, I think
So he's not. I don't think he's going to start this game. I think Rabo is going to continue to play. Um, in the midfield, we have numbers now, right? We have Elliott, we have Gravenberch. Endo fucking played amazing,
he
and I don't
did
think he gets the respect from a
right.
lot of our fans that he should. He did a job. A lot of people's man of the match yesterday against
True.
Southampton, and so he's there. Obviously, when everybody's there, he's probably the last midfielder probably coming on. Maybe just playing the 5-10 minutes at the end, but it's an important position or role that he has to play. I think he's going to start Maka Jones and Gravenberch. I think that's his preferred three.
I think it is too.
Bringing Soboslai off the bench with his energy late.
I would think Jones over Sobo.
I think so, but I but that's the beauty of the team now, right? You can plug and play there. Um, Maka played yesterday. He could put Jones over there on that left hand side instead of McAllister, and I think Slot realized what we all already knew that Elliott's not a right winger, right?
That was kind of interesting, right? You talked about it after the game. In fact, I think he said in the post match that Elliot was bored out in the right wing, so I told him to go play midfield. And I thought that was a weird way to phrase it, but I I think most of us, and I think Slot has said this too, is that it's maybe not his best position, but until Chiesa is back, and Klopp did the same thing. He would put Elliot in that position. He can play it, but it's not necessarily his best position. And I thought he looked much better when he was more involved in the midfield. I think Elliot's a fantastic number 10 type player. And I'd love to see more of it. I'm not necessarily sure whether he'll be able to start that many games unless it's maybe against teams where we're going to have tons of the ball. So against Spurs, I can't see him starting there, especially given the 9 minutes. But I love it when he comes in late in games because he knows how to pick locks. Salah loves playing with him. He creates so well late in games. He doesn't have that pace to be able to run by guys, but he's such a talented player.
Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned this many times, and he'd be a perfect player on the continent, right? He would dominate a midfield, and I think he's that influential when he's on the ball. He, like you said, he finds the spaces. He has a great first touch. He has his head up all the time. Right wing, he was bored because no one ever passes it to him over there,
Yeah.
right? Where when Salah's there, you're kind of focused on getting him the ball. Elliot's there, you may okay, well let's find another avenue, right? So then when Elliot's able to come in and find those pockets of spaces, it really overloads there, and he did a great job, and he's such a professional. Him and Endo and Gomez are true
Yeah.
professionals to the team, and our team benefits from having those guys that are flexible. They just put their head down and they work anytime they're on the pitch. So um, up front, it is what we mentioned Chiesa. He came in there, played 15 minutes. He kind of started rusty, but then he kind of showed some quality, and
Yeah.
I think he'll get more and more opportunity to when Salah needs a rest. That he'll be the first person off the bench on that right wing to take his spot. But Salah's not going anywhere anytime soon. We hope anyway. We knock on wood that he 2 weeks before they can start talking to other people, him and Van Dyke. So hopefully something gets done before then. But with Jota back in the mix now, Salah, Chiesa, Jota, Nunez, Diaz, Gapco.
Right.
That's some firepower there.
That's a
And
lot of options.
and the thing is, like, Slot does play more of a controlled game. But man, if we had to wait the games that we've had to turn it on in the second half, he's shown that we can do that. We have another level, and I think there's a secret bat signal that says, "Okay, you ready?" And then they just go balls to the wall, and then we get all these chances in the second half. But you know, all these games are important. It's the game in hand. We're coming off a couple of draws. You want to get the 3 points.
Yeah, and especially given the couple of draws that we've had, I think this one, given that we were so far out ahead, this one, even though it's in any other season, you know, getting a draw away at Spurs is not a bad result. Even losing is not the worst thing in the world. But I think given the results and where we were positionally, and given how they're kind of a little up and down, we really need to be trying to win this game. And I think we will go for it. And we have such attacking options. Like you said, I think Slot will, if it's the last 20, he'll put four guys on there. I mean, we've seen how well in the last couple of games Jota's come on, but he's kind of come on as like a deep, player sometimes, like a 10 or an 8 even. And he's fantastic when he comes back and gets that ball and creates from there.
It kind of reminds me when he played for Wolves. You could get that ball near midfield and take people on. We play him a little higher.
I
Where
mean,
he's
he
right now
sets
poacher.
right, and he sets up Chiesa a couple of times in the game, and we almost get a goal. I mean, it's very unlucky Chiesa not to score. I thought at first, like we were talking in the pub when we were watching, and Chiesa was, you know, there was moments initially where we were like, oh man, he looks rusty, but then you have to consider he's been out 4 months,
Yeah.
and by the end of the game, he was looking dangerous as anything. So it was. I think it's really positive. Um, if he can come in late in games and these games, I'm not sure if he'll get on in the game because Salah, doesn't tend to, you know, get subbed off in massive big games like this. So we'll see. He may not get on, but we've got lots of options in that front line. We've got Gakpo's on fire. I thought he actually in this game was against Southampton with a bunch of young guys. I thought he actually showed good leadership.
Mhm.
I thought he was the one trying to drive into the box a lot when he got the ball.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think he'll start. I think Diaz was rested, so he'll start. But I think Kakpo will play some minutes. Um, and yeah, Nunes wasn't fantastic, but he did his job and he scored a goal. So there's options, and it's just up to Slot to figure out, what minutes, work for what guys.
So he's made the decisions right. It seems like what he does. Having coached for a while, at the youth level, obviously not that upper level, but just to look at some of the tactical stuff that he does during the games. Like this last game, we didn't know where the hell Endo was. He was either center
Yeah.
back or he was playing a 10. One of the two, and then you had Gomez pushing up, and then you had, I don't know where half the guys were supposed to be playing. Yesterday against Southampton, but time and time again, he's shown that he makes adjustments um, even before halftime, but especially at halftime, he he makes some tactical tweaks that just sets the team up for a success, and it's interesting to watch. He's very low key, obviously. He's not bombastic or anything like that. He doesn't have the personality that Klopp has, but it's just interesting how he manages the team. And without a preseason, that they are able to execute what he wants. The strategy, his strategy, and the way he sets up his tactics.
And he's not shy about talking about it either. He'll kind of tell you. I mean, obviously he's not telling you everything that he said to the team. There's probably a ton more to it than he's going to admit, but he will just kind of give you a little like, oh, they did this, so we adjusted and did that, and it's kind of fun to listen to that. But I think there is a ton more that he's not telling us that's going on. But yeah, every halftime has been an improvement that I can think of, um, which is just massive credit to him. Uh, he was sat in the stands, I guess, for Southampton, so maybe he got a better view. Um, and then they brought in that giant guy again, who the commentator seemed to think was doing fantastic, even though,
Southampton guy.
yeah, even though I'm not really sure he actually did much other than just kind of run in a straight line. But they were enamored with him. But yeah, no, I think Slot is doing a fantastic job of figuring out, what to change. And I feel like the players though too are doing a good job of you know keeping it tight when need be
Mm-hmm.
to like to get to halftime or whatever, and not making stupid mistakes. They're I think they know that they're going to get some instruction, and that they're kind of like, okay, let's just keep doing the smart things. Is what I've been impressed with so far this season.
You know, from what I've seen from Klopp, I wouldn't put it past him to really put a tether on Robbo this next game. Like, don't push up so much, or so you're not leaving yourself exposed or having to chase coming backwards. Against Tottenham, who have the ability to score goals. So I I think he'll probably play that a little bit more straight up this weekend against the Spurs, and just letting our midfield dominate and get it to our attacking players. And it's just another game to look forward to. I mean, I know they're in 10th, but we kind of still consider them one of the big six. I imagine, right? And so that game against them always has a little history behind it, and we want to make sure that we go on the road. We haven't lost on the road yet. And what I see today, we're 20 games unbeaten. It's the first time since 1996 or something like that. So, we're going in the right direction. We've still only lost one time all season
Yeah,
in all competitions. What do you think about that, Jono?
I think that's awesome. But what you said about Robo and the fullback position, I think it's interesting, right? I mean, even last season, the because I've been talking to folks about fullbacks, both Trent and Robo online, and last season we had the experiment with Trent coming inside much more. We've seen that a little bit this season, not all the time. But then we seen a couple of games ago, we saw Robo was essentially playing as in part of a back three, very tucked inside, with Trent kind of drifting high and wide. I just and people are talking about like assist numbers, and both of them are down on that this year. Um, and obviously, Robo's had just a
No, I mean
he's had
it's
mistakes,
a
and he's
different
had
style, right?
yeah, and he's had bad games. There's no question in that. I'm not really sure. That's one thing that I'm not sure for Slot what he wants yet. Out of both of them, and I think he's tried different things, um, and I'm not really sure what has worked. So that's probably the one big question mark that I still have over what he really wants his fullbacks to do. And maybe we won't have a set answer because like we saw in this last game where he played this almost like a 3 and then a box 4, on on the ball is different to off the ball. Certainly was with Endo in this last game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's really interesting, and we don't know what's going to happen with Trent. And I think one thing I think people are asking about is what we'll do in January. Well, the one thing I don't think that'll happen is I've really, and I could be totally wrong here. It'll happen. We'll find out soon. But
Well, this is remember, social media is forever.
right, exactly. But I don't see us making a left back change in January, or a right back for that matter. I think Slot will just deal with what he's got. So we're going to be stuck with what we have. Um,
Don't
and
say stuck like it's a negative, Jono.
well,
Because
yeah, that's
we have
fair.
quality there,
We
right?
do. And I think both guys, I put it pretty much 50-50 which one starts at left back on Sunday. And if Connor Bradley was fit, I would almost give it equal 50-50 who's going to start against
So
Spurs.
you think Simicus has a shout to start on Sunday?
I think I think it's probably a more 70-30 just because Rob was fitter and he's had a rest. So I would give it a bigger likelihood that he starts. But it wouldn't surprise me if Slot is pretty pissed at him for his decision making over the last
Yeah.
few games. And if
Well, I mean, he's really has benched Kwanzaa for
right,
not even having a mistake that
right.
very first game, and he got
So
sent to the wilderness, right?
I think if Simicast was more ready, then it wouldn't surprise me if he started him. Um, I don't get me wrong. I think by the end of the season, personally, I think Robo would be fine. But I think something's got in his head, and he's making bad decisions. And I don't think it's a pace thing. A lot of people think that.
Here's the reason: it's because Scotland has finally
Yeah.
qualified for major tournaments, and he has to play a lot. That's the reason. Because look, he's played an extra season
well,
because of Scotland.
maybe it's part of that, but
But congratulations
I
to
honestly
Scotland.
don't think it's a fitness thing, I know a lot of people think that. I think it's just he's just had a run of bad decisions and where he's just fucked up, and I think he'll be fine, but I could be wrong. And Simicast has done pretty well when he's come in. So, Slot has given him his chance.
And we know this because we play defense as well on Sunday League. Midfielders and forwards can miss goals. Midfielders can miss shit and miss trap. Defender makes a mistake, it leads to a goal.
Yeah.
And it's highlighted, and that's when Robbo makes a mistake, it's highlighted because it leads to a chance or it's a penalty kick where it's one mistake in the game, very important, where the other outfield players have made numerous mistakes in the game. And that's just the nature of footy, right? That when you're in the back, you make a mistake, it costs you. And I think that's really the crux of it because it's been all the eyes are on you when you make a mistake in the back, right?
Yeah.
But in midfield, you can mistrap it, mispass, and you
But
make countless mistakes, and everybody's like, oh, he's still a 8 out of 10. Like, okay, whatever. But, I think also that Robert will find his form. He's one of those guys that the more he runs, the better he is.
Right.
He's getting in there.
I think so too.
But it's good to have Simicus back because
Yeah.
it's good to have cover. If Robin doesn't play a full 90, he plays 70. It's just interesting because now we've seen Gravenberch kind of play deep when we played with 10 players. He played almost a center back, right? Endo playing center back, and so I think the flexibility that Gomez can play across the back line, right? And I still think he'd make a great six if they actually played him there. But just the flexibility of those players to be able to play those different positions, and the team, Kanate's about 3 weeks out.
Yeah.
Bradley's about 3 weeks out. Those guys come back, man. We're gonna have for the AFCON this year. So, it starts this weekend again. It's kind of a restart, right? It's like you had these draws. Let's go take care of business against Spurs, and then we move on. So prediction time.
Oh man. Well, I feel like with Spurs, there's no chance it's a clean sheet.
No way. There's not
a. I reckon most likely. Okay, I'm gonna go 3-1 for Liverpool. That's maybe a little optimistic. I think maybe most likely is 2-1, but I'm gonna go with a 3-1 because I'm not a shit.
I'm going to go 2-0 to the Reds. I think we will get the shutout. I think Allison back in the pipes, Van Dijk back in there. I think we'll get the clean sheet, and then we'll get our mojo back. And then the next game after that is Leicester on Boxing Day. We'll take care of business then, and we'll get our the gap back up to where it needs to be. 5 or 6 points. And so anyway, John, a lasting message for the people out there before they have their Christmas and Boxing Day and Kwanzaa and whatever else we celebrate. People celebrate during this time.
Happy Gerald Kwanzaa Day. No, just have a good time, guys, and come out to the pub if you're in Austin. And Boxing Day is a great day to come watch a game in BD Riley's. So get out here and say hi to us.
That's right. I mean, you can come anytime you want. And we have a holiday party on the 28th. It's a Saturday.
Pub quiz is getting worked on by David and I.
So if you're in town in Austin on the 28th, come out to the pub. Join us for our holiday party. It'll be a laugh, bunch of crack, and mistletoe. Ugly sweater contest winner over here, 3-time defending champion.
I'm not going to wear it this time. Because since Mo shaved his hair, it doesn't really match anymore. So
Anyway, guys, hey, thanks for watching. Up the Reds. Subscribe, like, put on your notifications, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.